You always need to consider your audience and who you're talking to when you're talking about your relationship desires. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist. I've been counseling men and women who have both experienced abuse or those who have perpetrated abuse against other people. Can't talk today. Be sure to go back and watch that creator's video. She was talking about how people like to say, if you're single, you need to kind of spend time alone and, blah, 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 right? And sort of give this whole spiel about what you need to be doing if and when you want a relationship. I need to be clear about this in that there's nothing wrong with wanting a relationship at all. Like, if that is your desire to have a relationship, then allow that to be your desire and your goal that you have for yourself. Just like you may have a desire and a goal to have a baby, just like you may have a desire and goal to have a certain job or live in a certain place or have a home. Those are all great things to want to have and to want to manifest for yourself. And if you're not that type of person, if you don't want that, then by all means, please skip this video, because I know that there's people out there that think, oh, that shouldn't be your goal. Again, I'm never going to tell a person what their goal shouldn't be. But this post is to address, like, when you talk to people about the things that you want for yourself and want in your life, you always need to consider the audience and who you're telling that information to. So if you're going to a person that maybe feels a certain way about you being single, or there's some pressure or there's some judgment, that's probably not the person that you need to be talking to about the things that you want but you don't yet have, because they're going to give advice that, although they may be well-meaning while saying it, it doesn't really sort of jive and it doesn't really align with what you want. Or it can be it could be a put down, right? Or they can make you feel sort of small and inferior when they're telling you that. So always consider the source. Be mindful too about the judgment you already have about yourself when going to someone. So and I feel like this is specific for women, because men don't usually feel this way. When men, by and large, generally speaking, this isn't always the case. If men want a relationship, they go out and get one, right? And a lot of times they can go out and they can get a baddie, even though they don't have the equipment and everything that they need to maintain a baddie. It's just like that. And men are delusional in that way, and they're overly confident. And I don't say delusional to be a put down. It's just delusional and like, I can have anything that I want, right? And it's very ego-based behavior. And I think women can take a page out of a man's book, right? Because I think, what I'm trying to say is, when women go to other people and they sort of talk about this, there may be a lot of shame-based behavior, feelings or thoughts or behaviors around this. There could be, as I've talked about recently, desperation. There could be this feeling like, what's wrong with me? And so you're already coming from a place of lack, and you're going to a person that doesn't necessarily have a place, that doesn't necessarily come from that place, right? And so a lot of times when you're coming from a place of lack, or you're coming from a place of insecurity, and you're going to someone who doesn't have that, again, while they may be well-intentioned or well-meaning, they're not going to necessarily get where you're coming from, because their whole thing is just like, well, just do this and then, you'll be fine, and again, it could be dismissive, and it can make you feel a lot more inferior and discouraged, or like you're not heard. So again, that's another reason to be mindful of both yourself and your audience. And again, if you're feeling like insecure, a good place to start with that is like, why do I feel insecure? Why do I feel shame around wanting this and or not having this, right? Why do I feel this way? Because if it was a job, you wouldn't feel this way, right? And there's a lot of jobs, because I know what I'm going to get. oh, all the men out there are this and that and the other thing, and they're not good, and this and failed relationships and this and that and the other. There's a lot of jobs that people go to. I just had a post on jobs that psychologically harm people. There's a lot of things like that where people feel harmed, or they feel like their needs aren't met, or things just don't work out. And what do? You go out and you get another one, right? You start applying and you find another one that's much more aligned, and again, I think, if you remove the shame and the feeling like you're not good enough, you would have to go within to see where those feelings are coming from. Is that coming from a childhood wound? Is that coming from the people that are around you that you're still choosing to engage in? Is that coming from your because sometimes people can be perfectionists, right? Like, I'm type A, I'm a good girl, I do all these things. I went to law school, or I went to school to become a doctor, and I did all these things, and I accomplished, and I'm able to check the box. But for some reason, when it comes down to getting a partner, I'm not able to check the box there. So something is happening. And so be mindful about the narratives that you're having about that, as well as, even the narratives that come from above, right? Because sometimes it could not just be about us. We could also make it about God, and how God forgot about us. God doesn't love us anymore. Some sort of narrative that aligns with that. And again, you want to be careful about sort of the narratives that you're telling yourself and where that's coming from, but always consider the audience. And sometimes that audience can even be your own negative speech to yourself. If you want people to show up, you want people to be consistent, you have to start being that way from within first, right? You have to watch how you're speaking to yourself. You have to watch what you're thinking about yourself. And we all get there sometimes. We all get to a place where it's like, woe is me, there's something wrong with me, and I'm not downing anybody who's done that. I'm just saying that you want to find a place to unpack that and see what that's about, and then continue on your journey. And don't ever put yourself down for what your goals are. And if these goals aren't anybody else's, that's okay. Your goals are just as good to have if you want to keep them. And you don't owe anybody an explanation for anything that you want when you are grown. And I think a lot of people tend to forget that because, if you grew up in a toxic family dynamic, you may feel that you always have to seek approval from others before you can make a decision or have something that you want. And the reality is you don't need that. In the U.S. culture, I will say that. So I recognize that other cultures and other countries watch me. So I want to be mindful of that as well. Because those customs and things like that may be a little bit different. So I hope this helps. Like, comment, follow, and share. Thanks so much.